So now this is going to be kind of the order that you want to factor in. When you're talking about factoring, this is what you kind of want to start with. And I like organizational charts because it kind of makes our lives easier. Now, the first thing you want to always do, the first thing you want to always do when you're factoring is factor out a common factor if possible. That's the first thing you always do. You look for the common factor. You undo the distributive property. That's what this is. So that's the undoing like AX plus AY. So we'd be able to factor it out if you can factor out a common factor. Now, once you're there, if you have a quadratic situation where it's a squared no, not a squared, ax squared, that's okay, plus bx plus c, if you have that situation, then what you want to use is the box method that I showed you, which is online as well. Let's make that a little bit better. Or special products, where you get like a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is equal to a plus b, binomial squared. If you recognize this, 2ab plus b squared is equal to a minus b, binomial squared, or the whole a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. Now, the thing is, if you use the box method, you'll still end up with, if it was like x plus 6 quantity squared, the box method will still get you to x plus 6 times x plus 6. It'll still do what you need it to do. It just won't... you just have to follow that other method. And I always say that because what if you forget the formula for the special products? If you forget the formulas for the special products, then you're sunk. Now, the next, as far as quadratics go, that's pretty much what you do with quadratics. Now, why do we do this? Why do we care so much about factoring? You get your rational zeros of your graph. So this is going to be, you'll get that guy right there, and you'll get that guy right there. You'll get but those are going to be rational. If they're irrational, then you have to use something like the quadratic formula, which we haven't done yet, or we haven't done yet in here, but you should have done that in Algebra 1. Or we just dump it into the graph on the calculator and go from there. Because we can factor everything, kind of do a backdoor factoring from there. Now, some other parts, I'm going to extend that out there. The other part that we talked about was by grouping. Make two groups of two. take out your common factors to make a common binomial factor. And then you factor the binomial factor. And a lot of times, the majority of them is you just take the first two terms, put them together, the second two terms, put them together, or you have to make that conscious decision to say, I'm going to put two terms that have common factors in there. And if that's the case, go for it. You'll be okay. Now, the last part that we haven't done yet which we will deal with soon, factoring a cubic equation. And hold on one second. Sometimes factoring a cubic is you're going to factor it by grouping. That's one way to think about it. But there are a couple special ones too. And I'm trying to get the formulas because I never remember these formulas. All right, so these are the two special products. Sums and difference of cubes. And the answers, these are just formulas. This is a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. This guy is a plus a, not plus b, but a minus b. And you get a squared plus ab minus b squared. And that's horrible, so I'll rewrite it. You get a minus b times a squared plus ab minus b squared. Oh, plus b squared. Sorry. And we'll deal with that because those are just formulas. So with cubic equations, you've already started factoring cubic equations because you started seeing cubic equations by factoring by grouping. So it ended up being pretty nice. And you can actually factor this by grouping too, if you really, really wanted to. If you can make the middle term, the bx part of it, into two terms that you can factor out common factors from. That's a little bit more tricky because that becomes a lot of guess and check. So if you guess wrong at what you're adding together, then you're going to end up with the wrong stuff. And we don't want to end up with the wrong stuff. We want to end up with the correct stuff. But now, as far as the test that you have coming up, it's going to be this, 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 this. Just that. And it's only, and don't think of it as a test. Think of it as a little quiz that's going to be about 5 questions long, just to make sure that you guys can factor. So I don't want to move ahead unless I can tell that you guys can factor. So that's going to be tomorrow. First quarter's over. So that's kind of your factor tree. Always look for a common factor first and factor out the binomials. But remember one last thing. Make a last check for common factors or for a squared minus b squared. And that will set you up pretty good.